9:40 exactly. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're back with you, News and News right here on Salam Media. We're now joined by Mohamed Laher. He is the Ameer for Burials for Fordsburg Muslim Youth Organisation, known as FMYO, and also Moulana Taahir Salloo. He is the Imaam of the Mayfair Jumma masjid and also a member of FMYO. They're here to talk to us about rules for Janazah in level 1, and this is with immediate effect. And when I say level 1, obviously I'm referring to COVID-19 level 1 that we are under at the moment. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program, brothers.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay. All right. Let's start with you first, Mohammed. And it seems like the rules have now changed regarding the rules for the janazah with immediate effect. I must also say to you that I've received similar notification from other janazah groups as well, like CIT and the other groups. So what has changed? What do we need to be aware of? And what are the protocols involved in?
So basically, in the past, we never took the mayat home. People had to wear PPE, and ghusl was made differently. So now, PPE is no longer required. Kafan is adequate body bag. Body bags are no longer required, and we are allowed to take the mayat home. People have to wear gloves and they have to wear masks in order to protect others. You know what I'm saying? It's not so much from the deceased itself. So knowing that, we've allowed so that families can have closure. And I think Moulana Taahir can put more light on that aspect because there was no closure in the past.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A mayyat came and straight from the Ghusl Khana, it went straight to the Qabristan. Janazah namaz was performed in the open, and family members were not allowed to go into the grave. And we've changed all that. And family members are allowed to go into the grave. Family members are allowed to do ghusl. The mayyat will go home and then to the Qabristan. So there's some sort of closure for the family.
Mohammed, and these rules apply nationally. Durban, Cape Town, all around the country. These rules are applicable, I should imagine, with immediate effect.
I would say that each organization has their own rules, and it just depends on them what is their outlook. But I mean, as far as government regulations are concerned, you don't
Okay, Mohammed, I'll come back to you in a minute. I want to talk to Moulana now. But when I come back to you, what I'd like you to respond to is who determines the changes in rules and how is it communicated? I know we as the general public then receive a communication via WhatsApp and emails, etc. But I'll come back to you and you can respond to that. Moulana, Mohammed has raised a very important point by suggesting that when we were in, obviously, in the past couple of months, when the janazahs were not taken back home, where family members were not involved in the ghusl and not even in the actual qabr, he's correct in saying it was very, very traumatic for the family members, and there was no closure. Were you involved at all in giving some form of counseling to the family members? And Maulanas, obviously you people have a huge role and responsibility in times like this, whether there are restrictions or not. Your presence is very necessary for the family to get through this very, very sad and difficult period in their lives.
Yes, without doubt. Previously, what had happened was a lot of people were hospitalized, and when they had passed on in the hospital, the last time that family members would see their loved one would probably be 2 to 3 weeks prior to the person passing away. Now, from that point, that being the last time they had any interaction with them, if the person passed away, the body was then taken directly for ghusl, and from there, obviously, to burial. What had happened was people that did not have any sort of closure, and because of the COVID restrictions and so many infections, there was not much support at home, as would commonly be found with friends, family, neighbors, etc. So people found that very, very difficult at such a difficult time. So adding to the stress of having lost a loved one, the closure was something that was very, very important. So with the amended regulations, what has happened is people have now got they now have the privilege of participating in the ghusl, obviously within the confines of the law, and taking into consideration the protocol. And then the janazah can go to the home, where many times you have elderly people, etc. So, for example, at the facility at Mayfair Jumma Masjid, there is a separate room where the family are able to utilize if they choose not to go home. They have their privacy, and from there it goes for janazah, salah, and burial. This has made a huge impact on the Muslim community, where people are now able to participate in the ghusl and in the burial, etc. So by the body being able to go to the home, and we emphasize for a short period of time. So what we did learn during the COVID time is that we can do our janazah as close to sunnah as possible by not delaying the janazah. So if during that stage we found janazah taking place in the time a person had passed away, within sometimes 2 to 3 hours the person is buried. So we should try and still follow that. Yes, take the body home, let the family mourn, let them do their du'as, etc., let them do their prayers, and from that point on straight to the graveyard, so that we also try and confine as close to sunnah, but at the same time the family has its closure. Now when you talk about the counseling for families, it was very, very traumatic, and yes, those who are involved in the burial teams will tell you it was very, very stressful, but alhamdulillah, as always, Allah always selects a group in the ummah to tend to the emotional needs of those who are going through difficulty, and to our best ability, alhamdulillah, that has been taken care of.
Ameen. Ameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your efforts and guide you to continue doing this amazing work. Mohamed, back to you. Regarding my previous question, who decides that it is now okay or safe enough for the janazas to go, to be taken after the ghusl, to go to the house, for the families to make the necessary du'as, etc., and then go for burial?
So basically, this is how it works. As soon as we get protocols from the government, right, and then we sit down as a committee, Moulana Taahir, myself, our chairman, we sit down and we work within the protocol. So if it's allowing us to take the mayyit home, then we do that.
And from when has this happened? I got this notice, I think, a few days ago. So I should imagine maybe a week or two ago this has started happening. Am I correct?
That's correct. But before that as well.
All right.
There's protocols that come from the government that they submit to all the hospitals and the NETCA, and we work on that prerogative to say, right, this is what's good for the hospitals, and we work on the same parameters.
Okay. Moulana Taahir, you wanted to say something there?
So one is the government protocol was obviously passed on, and then what happens is recently the hospitals, who obviously the burial teams deal with quite extensively, had amended their regulations, which made it a lot easier for us. So based on that change in regulations within the hospital industry, when they had communicated that to us recently, we then were able to make certain amendments, because understand, one is the government protocol and one is the medical industry as well, who we deal with very, very closely. So based on the recent changes, that is when we sit down and made these things.
All right, my final question, Moulana. Does this make it easier for you people as a group that deals with janazas in the community? Or does it not matter to you either way? How does
For
it...
us as a group that deal with the Muslim Ummah in terms of the janazah, whatever is easiest for the family, because they are the ones who are bereaved, we try and accommodate them as far as possible. This does make it a lot easier upon the family. So it does make it a lot easier. And yes, for those giving the ghusl, without the PPE, it also makes it a lot easier. Now the regulations is gloves, face masks, and the front overall. Yes, it does make it a lot easier to work with the janazah, without doubt.
Jazakallah, brothers, for sharing this information and for the amazing work that you people undertake. We do know that the majority of you that do this type of work is totally voluntary, and that you people are called up, you're on standby 24/7, weekend, no weekend, middle of the night, not middle of the night. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you guys, bless you with good health and long life, and accept all of your efforts. Shukran very much, and salam alaikum to both of you.
Wa alaikum salam and jazakallah for the lovely dua.
It is exactly 9:51 a.m. We'll be back with you in a minute or two in our social responsibility slot by talking with an amazing organization about what they have lined up to obviously raise much needed funds for their initiative. So do stay with us.